Hey, beautiful people. Welcome to Cocktails and Conversations podcast with me, Deborah Babio. I'm a cultural connector, curator, and all-round formidable force within the fashion, entertainment, and lifestyle space. This podcast blends good vibes, meaningful conversations, and a splash of inspiration. Every week, we're serving up candid chats on wellness, lifestyle, and personal growth, all with a refreshing twist. So grab your favorite cocktail or mocktail and join me along with some industry pros and close friends as we delve into the roller coaster of modern life. Cheers! On this episode of Cocktails and Conversations, I have the pleasure of sitting down with the wonderful Sophia Cook. Sophia radiates vibrancy, authenticity, sharing her colourful and engaging world through social media. Known for her honest reflections on life, her experiences as an older mum, and the joy she spreads with her famous kitchen discos. Sophia's perspective is truly inspiring. Together, we explore diverse life journeys, dive into redefining life after 40, and discuss what it means to take ownership of your own path. It's a wonderful conversation filled with warmth, wisdom, and a celebration of living life unapologetically on your own terms. Hello, everyone. Today, I have a lovely guest with me, and I would love you to introduce yourself, please, Sophia.
So I am Sophia Cook, and I'm a mum of two, content creator, bit of modelling on the side, generally a bit of an all-rounder.
And she's been too modest, guys. She is quite fabulous. She is a sensational person soul. And today we're going to be diving into the subject of redefining life after 40.
It's a good topic. It's a really good topic. We're nearly 3 months away from being 46.
And I'm 3 months away from being 41.
Yeah, and it's the 40s. It's a good time, you know.
I just want to say, February born are just special. Just saying, disclaimer.
We're very special.
Don't you agree?
We're unique. We're creative.
We are creative. We're unique. We're just special souls. But before we go ahead, let me pour you a drink.
Oh, please. I love this. Oh, nice.
We're having my take on a Sex on the Beach.
Definitely something we need in these wintry months.
Absolutely. All right. Cheers to us.
Cheers. Let's go. Let's get in. Get involved.
Ooh. Ooh. If I didn't say so myself.
Very delicious.
Thank you. Thank you. So, as we're saying, let's dive in to our topic of today. Can you just tell me a little bit about, your journey? You're almost 6 years into your 40s. How has it defined and shaped your narrative, your life, the way your outlook? Give me some tips.
So it's firstly, it's come out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And when people say that for me, like 98 feels like 15 years ago, when actually it's probably a lot longer.
Yes.
And when you start to hear, especially like across on social media or on TV and adverts, you start to hear like rave tunes being used in adverts, which you think you were dancing to only the other day. Well, actually, again, it was probably 25 years ago.
I know,
So
they call it old school.
Old school. And like, I saw a Halloween costume and it was like, I don't even know what it was, but it was like a puffball skirt. And puffball skirts were in the 80s and they came back out in the 90s. And I'm just like, I'm officially older. I'm definitely officially older. So yeah, so it's come really, really quickly. And my journey has been, it's been and is a great journey. And I'm probably the most comfortable in my 40s than I have been throughout my life. And it's not it's not a cliche. People say, 40s, I don't know 30s. No, 40s is just 40s. That's
Thank
it.
you. I don't like the saying 40s, the life begins at 40s. Like, no, my life is continuing.
Exactly.
It's not really beginning, it's continuing, it's evolving. And I kind of like that.
Yeah, and it's honestly, there's still some blips there. There's still some because when you've learned certain things, you have to start. You realise in your 40s, for me anyway, that you have to actually start unlearning things. And for me, I think the momentum of all that came by becoming a parent at 40. So it wasn't on my radar. I was married at 29 and then divorced quite quickly. Sorry. And then I kind of knew what I didn't want in terms of relationship. And then all of a sudden I found myself being pregnant, and whereby a lot of my friends at their 30s were getting married and having kids. I was getting divorced and I was partying and I was trying to refine myself. So when I got to 40, I was like...
And then the tables had turned. You were living that life.
I was then living that life. So I was, I fell pregnant at 2018. Son came in 2019, and then my daughter came in 2020, which was the pandemic.
Yes.
So there's a lot
that year. Oh my gosh.
Exactly. It's a lot of change.
And that's also 4 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
But I genuinely feel a lot more comfortable now, knowing that I spent like my wonder years, my 20s, my 30s, kind of like reliving or living a narrative that society projected onto me.
Right.
And now at 40, in my 40s, I'm just living by my rules.
Your own rules,
and my own definition of what I should be living. I met my husband, my second husband on Tinder.
Wow. Okay, there's so much to unpack. I can't. This is going to be so juicy, guys. I can't wait.
I met my second husband on Tinder.
And for guys, in case you don't know, Tinder is a dating app. Just in case.
Yep, just in case.
Yeah.
And at this point in my life, I had started, didn't necessarily know what I wanted.
What age were you?
I was 37.
Okay.
37. And so I got a divorce at 30.
Wow.
So I spent 7
years.
7 years doing my own thing, trying to find out, like living on my own.
Dating or
dating, like having a bit of a good time, having a bit of a bad time, meeting like the wrong eggs, but like, I'm seeing it through rose-tinted glasses now. But so I knew I didn't necessarily know what I wanted, but I knew by this point what I didn't want.
Yeah.
And so I met him. It was quicker than a Craig David song. I always say this. Started talking to him on the Wednesday.
Yeah.
By the Friday, which was the 12th of May, this date is really important.
Right.
The 12th of May, I met up with him, and I was actually dating somebody else.
Right, of course. We've got to that's what dating's about.
I was actually
date multiple people.
Dating, and I was actually speaking to somebody else as well. And I walked in, and he was getting a drink, and we started speaking, and then I went back up to get a round of drinks, and I just said, "Hey, my sister, I'm going to marry this guy."
Okay. Let's pull back. You went to get a round of drinks.
Yep, second round.
And then you called your sister to say you were going to marry the guy.
Yeah. So this.
What?
This is.
What?
Remember, I said to you that I knew what I didn't want. Right.
Yes.
So this guy was really, really attractive. Is really attractive.
Yes.
Gorgeous. We just kicked off, and he was something that I'd always like imagined myself seeing. And you've got to like take it with a pinch of salt because there's a lot of chemistry happening.
Right. I was going to say, are you guys drinking shots or was it just normal drink?
We hadn't even touched the second round. Like I went to the bar to get it. Hadn't even gone downstairs to drink it. So that was on the 12th of May. And on the Saturday, I was like, hey, guy, like, look, we need to get married. Right. So then we got engaged 3 weeks later, and then in Spain. And then and people ask me, would you advise your daughter and son to do this? Absolutely not. Right. Absolutely not.
So then the whole wait for a year.
But I knew, my previous husband I was with for about 4 or 5 years, and we dated. Right, we did everything we were supposed to do in the order, by the book. And as soon as I got married, I was like, this is actually the wrong thing to do.
Right.
So there's no.
But like you're saying, society kind of not brainwashes you, but makes you think that you have to do those steps, right?
Yeah, and brainwashing is absolutely right. Like, because we're conditioned in a certain way, and then our family, and then people before us. We think that there's a right and wrong way, but there's not. The right way is the right way for you.
Definitely, my previous relationship was that. Since I was literally the third date, I was like, I'm not the girl for you, but I stayed for 5 years.
Yeah, because it's a habit, isn't it?
It's like, don't. He's a good guy. It's like you don't want to be alone. But it's like, I just knew it wasn't right.
Yeah, because you have to wake up and look yourself in the mirror, not your mum, not your dad, not your nan, not your friends. So it's really, really, really important. So everybody thought I was crazy. Everybody was like, oh my God, not again, Soph. And I was like, no, this is good, right? So anyway, so the 12th of May, we met. Yeah. We got married exactly a year later on the 12th of May. And I left my job, and then we got a dog. This bit's really important, right?
Go on.
Got a dog. Because I'd left my job, it was awful, really, really bad circumstances. So I just left, and I was going to be
corporate world.
Yeah, I was working for a corporate body.
That's a whole nother.
And it was just a really toxic, racist
Yep.
environment. So I left and I got a dog. And we were like, hey, like we are at it constantly. Probably a bit too much information, but we wanted to start a family.
Yeah.
Wasn't falling pregnant.
Right.
And went to my doctor, and they were just like, it might not happen, you know, you're a lot older, you're slightly overweight, you know, started bringing up my ethnicity and so, all of this stuff.
Right.
And so I got a dog, brought home the dog on the 29th of August,
Right.
and on the 11th of September, found out I was pregnant.
Wow. Wow. Okay. This is so it all just happens so like
So
literally
quickly.
like back.
Yeah.
So it really is the myth like it just can
It
happen
can,
just like
it can
that.
happen just like that.
It's literally
but
can
then-
happen.
but then
You're a
it-
testament to
then
that.
it comes up with momentum, right? So then we
Yeah.
had my son, 2019.
Yeah.
And then, you know, again, because of my age,
Yeah.
we thought, look, because there was a little bit like, they were saying to me, look, you're going to have,
And was the pregnancy smooth?
it was
Okay.
to a certain extent. Like I had gestational diabetes, week 38,
Right.
38, so right towards the end of the pregnancy period. And but they were surprised because I was still training, I was still working out, and it was relatively a good pregnancy, but it was quite stressful because I'd left my job, right?
Yeah.
So, and then I said, look, I didn't really enjoy being pregnant. That was another thing. But we said, look, let's wait a while. Wait a while. And my doctor said, well, it's maybe like this baby sounds a bit like a fluke because I was entertaining having IVF because nothing was happening, but I never got to that stage. But generally throughout my pregnancy, it was very much like, you're too old. You know, you've got to think you're a geriatric mum. You'll hear that bounced about a lot.
Oh my God, yeah.
And
They
so
say that from 35, they call it geriatric,
34, 35.
which just blows my mind. That
And they present a lot of language around you that's negative.
Yes.
But you know, and so you're pregnant at whatever age beyond 35, and then you're almost told that it's not going to end well. And there's all that negativity, so you go into panic mode. I'm already quite an anxious person anyway. And so then they said, look, it might not happen again. And so we were doing a renovation, we're doing a TV show at the same time. That's another like added pressure. And I felt sick. I felt really sick in September, but I thought it was stress, like money's walking out the door, people are knocking through the house. And I remember being in a hotel because we had to get out of the house because of dust. And my dog was in season, right? So my sausage is her name. And she was in season, so she was like bleeding in this hotel room. She had like diarrhea as well, dog diarrhea, a new baby.
Oh my God, it was all going on for you.
It was all going on, and I was like, there's something not right. There's something clearly not right. And I was pregnant.
Oh, wow.
Again.
Wow.
And I met with a lot of resistance as well when I was going to the doctors because I was actually spotting, and they were like, "Well, I don't think it's not going to be a viable pregnancy because you're bleeding."
They're already giving you that negative.
Already the negativity.
Instead of checking, it's so frustrating that they put women through this.
Yeah.
It's like, but there's also knowing yourself and knowing your body, right?
Yeah.
It's just you don't listen to that. You knew something was wrong, so you went to get it checked
Yeah,
out.
because I was in the bath and I was bleeding. And so they were like, well, you know, looking at your age and the fact that you've just had a baby, you're never congratulated. And I think there's a really, really important, I know how old I am, and I've got access to the internet, so I know that, you know, there are women my age and older having babies, but also I know there are women younger that have had complications as well. There's no guarantee.
There's no guarantee.
It's
like giving birth, being pregnant is such a superhuman thing that people just take like it happens. Like you're saying, there's women that are much younger that have had so much complications or, you know, didn't go to full term, or, you know, there's so many stories, we all know it. But it's like when it comes to over 40 or when you're an older mum, I feel like they put so much pressure, so much negativity before you've even...
They do, and those like words matter.
Absolutely.
So being of that age, and because I started later, so whilst I was having my first divorce, a lot of my friends were having kids, right? Yeah. And I was out partying, finding myself. And so there were those conversations of reassurance that I would ordinarily, if I was in a mum group, friends group, whatever. I don't have my parents, there are no aunties. And so having a child at 40 was a little bit daunting. Absolutely. I didn't have anybody that cared to recall those years of that time back.
And to share those moments with, you know, because like when you're a younger mum, you have, hopefully your friends are also going in the same direction, so therefore you have some sort of a bond or some sort of a community. Whereas I feel like when you're older, because there's so much negativity, they make you feel ashamed for being an older mum.
Yeah, and that stemmed from every direction. That stemmed from every direction, and it was unfortunate that for my first pregnancy I had a not very nice midwife, and then I was relying on medical experts to support me when I was just met with resistance. So they'd said to me, because of my age, because there was like data somewhere, but again, I'm listening to an expert that suggested that the older you get, there's a bigger chance that the placenta can break away a lot sooner, which would cause internal bleeding, and the baby could be at risk, and then you could be at risk, and so you should have a cesarean. But I was like, I'm not. I know that this baby. Interestingly, my son, I think I had to be induced, but he wasn't ready. Like he's like, he gets up when he gets up now. You can tell this baby's like, hey, I'm not ready to come out. And so they only let me go to 39 and I think 39 and 3 days or 39 4 days. And then my daughter, because she was born in 2020, again, an elective cesarean. But the pressure of that was because it was during the pandemic. So they were saying that, okay, so you are a vulnerable mother because you're older. It's now the pandemic, so we've got less head count. So we need to book you in
now.
Book
that
you in
rush,
now.
that whole.
Book you in now because there might not be someone there for you because there is a virus in the air and things are all on its head. So I was like, what do I do? And my husband's like, we want to make sure that you're both safe. So I took the elective cesarean, which happened to be on the same day that my son was born. So yeah, it's just been, and again at that point as well, I'd only been with my husband. Can't do the maths. We'd only been together for a couple of years. So we'd just gone boom, 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 boom. So then during lockdown, it was like, I'm looking at you, you're looking at me. We got 2 young kids and a dog, and it's just us. And it was a really tough time.
How does that feel? Because obviously, like you said, your previous marriage, you did 4 years, the courting, the dating, to now having this whole life in literally under 2 years, 3 years.
It's just I think the thing is that.
Did you feel pressure? Did you feel, or was it just smooth? I'm not saying
Pressure in what way? Pressure from
pressure in the sense of, like, oh wow, everything's happening so fast. Like, what is this? Like, what is happening?
So it's only now, whilst my daughter's just started school, do I feel a sense that the fog is lifted and less pressure, because it's been constant. I think if we hadn't have been in a pandemic, I think there would have been more support, because going back to what we were saying about being like younger mums and being in groups, all the groups in my area before children's centres started closing were directed towards younger mums, to the point that they actually had a cap on the age. So I'd meet women going to like in hospital receptions, whatever, and classes, and it would be like, oh, for younger mums between 18 and 25. I'm like, so I've going to these like baby group things in pregnancy, and now I can't go to things like this. Like, I know
the discrimination.
Yeah, and I know that even though not within my circles, there are women out there, because I speak to women via social media and just in walks of life, that women are having children a lot older.
We really are.
But it's almost like externally people aren't catching up. And so there's still like, oh, do you not think you've left it too late? Do you not? And there was a thing actually that I used to speak about quite a lot. I used to get stopped.
Go on, tell me.
I used to get stopped a lot and be called the grandma, a grandparent.
No.
Yeah, and it was the postie, someone in a hair shop, someone in a jewelry shop, someone on the bus when I was actually pregnant with my daughter, 7 months pregnant with my daughter, like pushing my son. Oh, we've got lovely grandkids. So yeah, there is that
society and there's so much we can talk about.
There was no other time than in my 40s when it happened, for it to happen.
Right.
That was the right time for me to happen. If it happened before, it would have been chaos. It's chaos now.
Yeah.
But there's no resentment from me, thinking like I've missed out.
Yeah.
That I didn't travel enough, that I didn't go enough, that I didn't wear enough. Life is very different, but I feel in a better place now than I was back then. I couldn't have been a parent then.
Oh wow, that's just incredible. That sounds, I mean, for me, I definitely want kids, and I'm just looking at the data, the statistics, everything that people are saying, and it does lean onto the negative side, like it's not possible, or you're gonna have complications, or the babies,
Yeah.
who knows, right? I don't want to project that into the future, but it is, you do get met with these, like, or you get looked at sideways of like, oh, you left it quite late, didn't you? Or what's happening? So the clock is ticking, and all these pressures that it's like, well, life just didn't happen for me in that way. So if it does happen now, I have to kind of deal with it now, like how you did.
Yeah.
You embraced it, and you're living, and you're fine, and your kids are fine and beautiful, and so it's possible.
It's
And I
definitely
just
possible. And I think,
wish society, plus also the medical professionals, will champion that a bit more and
yeah,
give more hope than more and instead of negative, the rhetoric.
that in itself, like in terms of medicine, that's a whole new, like not new, but that's a whole catalogue of like another conversation. I think a lot of people as well, you said that why do some people might say, and some people have said to me, why have I left it so late? What about your children? What about the fact that you're not going to be here to do X, Y, and Z? None of us know what's going to happen when we walk out of the door.
Right.
And I think for you, for not you personally, but I think for people to feel that, I've left it late, I'm not going to see them walk down the aisle. There are people that are very healthy, that leave their house, that never return, sadly. And, you are alone with a child. I never take that for granted. Of course, I want to, be there for them, they need me. Reality is I'm probably starting a midlife, right? Who knows if I've got more years ahead of me than I have behind me, but I can only live in the moment. And one of my biggest anxieties, I lost my parents when I was 29 and 22 and 29.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's just, thank you. It's just it's a sad reality that will always live inside me, of fearing it. But if I worry about something that's inevitable of us all, I'm going to miss the opportunity that I have now. And so it doesn't, for me, having children at that age, at the age I was just the right time.
Right.
It was just the right time. And I just have to try and make sure I'm bringing myself back down and not worrying what anybody else is saying and their projections of fear onto me, because I already carry my own.
Yeah.
But
you did it naturally.
Yeah.
That gives me so much hope. You don't even understand, Sophia, because that's like one thing I pray for, to be able to carry my own child. And sometimes,
but it's
I'm
stress is a big factor. And when somebody that has all the information, they're the expert, and you're going to them for reassurance
and support,
and
they're saying all this other stuff.
But we can be Dr. Google. We know the hurdles that we're going to have to face or could face as we get older. But the complexity also on top of that is just every day-to-day life. And if you're stressing about something and you're telling yourself, I do believe that our body hears us.
Absolutely. I 100% agree.
So I think it's really important to just carry your own your hope inside and not pay so much attention to what the experts are saying, because if I'd listened to what the first gynae was she a midwife? I can't remember what she said. She just said, you need to lose weight. You're too old. You're too this. And I really wanted to rush back and find her and say, no, it's a bit petty like that.
I could be petty too. I get it. I'll do the same.
Not only did I have my son, but I had my daughter exactly a year later. And you were the one saying that it was very unlikely it's going to happen. Yeah.
And I feel like, just to touch on that and to speak to our audience, to say you really, being in your 40s, like you said, you know yourself, and knowing yourself helped you kind of challenge that midwife or nurse or whoever was saying that to you. Because sometimes maybe if you were younger, and I don't know, maybe it's not about being older, but you're younger and had health complications, or you had fibroids, right? Because when you're young, you can have fibroids, and they're saying all these negative things about your pregnancy. And if you don't know yourself well enough, you might listen to that healthcare professional. You might take their word over everything else and then stress yourself out, and your body, the mind is powerful, right? So it's again like doing life and children and family at a later stage. I feel like you do know your sense of self. You do know what you want, what you don't want.
Yeah.
You do know, okay,
not all the time, but I think there's
not all the time, but I think a stronger sense of it.
Yeah, there's an air of confidence, because I think you you get to a certain point and you realise that time is fleeting, right? And you realise that actually looking back, you're like, well, actually, why did I spend so much time with that person? Why did I spend so much time listening to that person? Why did I not wear that dress? Why didn't I not go out? Why didn't? Because you know that this is the one life as we know it. We don't know what's goes beyond, whether it stops or whatever happens. But you start thinking, I've got to start living it for me and not through anybody else's eyes. And I think that that's what my 40s has afforded me. I look at pictures. I just got back off holiday, and I look at pictures and I think to myself, would I have worn that? Would I have cared if you saw an extra chin? I probably wouldn't have put it out on social media. I don't actually care. I don't actually care, not 100%, but I'm like, well, that's just me, and that's me who I'm looking at, and my body, my vessel has taken me here. I couldn't give a flying. Right. So I've got to keep projecting that and keep recalling it, because we've spent so much time telling ourselves up until this point, and the pressure at the moment for a younger generation is.
So much pressure.
There's so much pressure.
So much pressure. We knew life when there was no social media.
There was no social media.
We could be outside.
Your
we
Nokia,
could be
popped in, no cameras.
Blackberry,
that was it. And now it's everything and it's everywhere. And
in a split second.
Yeah.
You can do something across the world, and another person across the other side of the world can know about it.
Yeah.
That's kind of scares me sometimes.
It is scary, but it also I think it's great. It's great for dating.
Well, we're going to come on to the dating, because, from my experience, from what I hear on the streets, it's not great.
Yeah.
The struggle is very real.
I can imagine. I can definitely imagine.
So I would love some advice on how we date and how you see dating from now that obviously you're married, got kids, how you seeing it? Because for me, my married friends or friends in relationships, they're always like, I'm living vicariously through you, and I love to see you in this. And I was like, guys, no.
Yeah.
it's not happening. But I would love your, because you said for 7 years you were dating and
so I've always lived by the idea, and it's probably not. I've always lived by the idea that you're not necessarily going to find the love of your life down the road from you.
Right.
So I'm not from London, but I moved to London 22 years ago, and I loved being outside. Right, I loved being out, socializing. I loved dating,
interacting.
Absolutely, and I worked in a club when I first arrived, and I knew that I just didn't want to be a Saturday girl or whatever. I wanted to meet somebody. So I put myself in situations way before the apps, and I was saying to you earlier, I put an ad in a classified ad, because I was able to...
Guys, can we just pause for a minute? Did you just hear that? I mean, Sophia said she put an ad in the classifieds. That's just wow. Yeah, I might have to do that. That's a new dating tip, guys.
But it's just very direct, and I think that
it's very direct.
It's very direct, and you were able to monitor who you were speaking to, what you were like, and it was a blind date. So you showed up, you had a bowler hat on, or a rose, and your lapel, not a bowler hat, but you and it was quite mysterious. But now you can Google somebody, know their blood type, know what they're doing, what they're doing.
Social media stalked them before.
Do you know what I mean? And then that takes away the mystery.
I had a friend who actually cancelled a date because she social media stalked them, and then she didn't like what she saw. Even before, it's like you make an opinion of someone before you even give them a chance, right?
There's just so much. There's so much more choice now. We can see so much now. But I just feel that there is that element of just going out to enjoy yourself, because as I was saying to you, things can change pretty quickly. Yeah. So you could be like, well, I'm dating, haven't done this, and then all of a sudden you can meet somebody and it can just turn. Yeah. And 4 years later, you've got 2 kids, a dog.
And a beautiful home.
And a beautiful home, and it's brilliant, but it happens like, whoa.
It just takes you. I mean, I do get annoyed at those people that are like, it's just going to happen just like that. But you are literally a testament of that. So I'm gonna keep the hope alive.
But there's work involved in that. So I put myself out there. Maybe I put myself out there.
Safe space.
I put myself out there, but I was enjoying it. But also, I was yeah, it was. I'm not going to say that it was all brilliant,
Right,
because there was
right.
some really horrible stories of things that happened, but I just was trying to enjoy the journey.
Right.
I didn't, when I met my husband, I wasn't looking to find him, because like I said, I had a date on a Wednesday. I was going to meet up with the guy on the Wednesday. I was speaking to somebody else. I was having a good time, just being out and about and enjoying it. So when I saw him, I was like, actually, I need to just take a minute,
Yeah.
literally 5 minutes upstairs, and make a call. And that call I made, and it
What
wasn't.
did your sister say to you, actually? Like when you called her, do you remember?
See, the thing is, this is a safe space.
It's a safe space.
The thing is that it wouldn't be out of character of me to be like, oh, I've met the man of my dreams, I'm
Right.
falling in love, I'm going to do
Right.
this. And so she was like, well, if you think
Yeah,
so, then
sure,
you think
babes.
so. But yeah, because it's like, I'm not saying that you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah. But we don't. We really don't. know what's
But
happening tomorrow.
I'm trying to live by my gut instinct.
Right.
And it's something that we're all born with, but we're all also told that, you know, by society or whatever, that it's not reliable enough,
Yeah.
that you need more,
Yeah.
you need more
Yeah,
information,
yeah.
like, to make that decision.
Yeah.
If your gut's telling you no, it's not enough.
Yeah.
Well, actually, my gut was telling me no when I got married with somebody that I was with for so long. And we went through all the steps, you know, meet the parents, meet the house, the holiday, the proposal, down on one knee and all that business, which we were told that's the way it should happen.
Right.
And then I had a feeling, and I thought, actually, you are somebody that I would want to get married to. And, you know, I'm sure he'll tell you a different story. But he's like, well, you know, we're getting on a bit, why don't we? But sometimes you just need to just throw it all in, because what's the worst that could happen? Because I know I was able to walk away from the last situation. Like, I am of the view that you came here on your own, you will leave on your own.
Absolutely, Sophia. I knew I liked you as soon as I met you. I'm the same thing. We came alone.
And
We leave alone.
We leave alone, and you have to. I remember when I I told my family I was leaving my first husband, and my brother had said to me. One brother said, you know, what are you going to do? Like, where are you going to live? I said, well, that's half my house, and the other one was like, well, you know, do you love him? I said, I do love him, but I'm not in love with him. And then he was just like, just go, because you know. I was confident that I was making the right decision. And I was 29. I was 29. Yeah, I was 29 when I got married when I was 29, and I left when I was 29. So then less than a year.
Wow.
So, but we've been together, I think it's 4 or 5 years.
When it's coming to an end, you know it, like.
Yeah. In midlife, you tend to think 50. So visually, even though I don't look 20, I don't look 30, like I look in my 40s, but I'd say, but the thing is, like, when you think of midlife and when you're presented with adverts, like in midlife and perimenopause, there is like a flurry of grey hair.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So so it's really hard to determine where I then sit. So it often feels at the moment at 46, I'm kind of waiting in a corridor for something like for my 50s, 55 and 60s, because, you know, in terms of advertisement. So I've been doing some modelling work. And I had a conversation with somebody. It's like, we think you're fit and everything, but we're trying, our demographic are midlife. And I'm not sure if you look like you're in midlife. I was like, well, what does midlife look like? What do you want me to look like? So there's no real grey hair. Because look, there's bits coming through, honest, like the whispery. But it's like, yeah, but I don't know if I could sell something in you.
It doesn't fit in the narrative of what they've constructed.
It's being midlife. So like now I'm like, I'm not forever 21. Like street casting.
Yeah.
But equally, like, could I do something like age perfect for a particular brand?
Yeah.
And when you look at that, and the beautiful women, stunning, but, you know, they might have a big grey afro.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, we can't. So I'm just like, I'm 46. What am I waiting for?
Very true.
What am I waiting for?
When you look at that commercial space, they do tend to go for women who've got the grey hair and they've got a bit of a wrinkle, but they're still cute. But there's never.
They can't find a hole. They can't position me
if you don't have that aesthetic. So
I'm struggling a little bit, and they were like, well, maybe come back in a few years when maybe we can stick something in your hair. And I'm just like, so I'm midlife, and you're trying to hurry me up to like 50s, but they can't position me where I would like benefit from them, like commercially.
Yeah.
Such a celebration to get older, right?
Absolutely. Such a privilege.
It's definitely a privilege, and I do not take that for granted at all in the slightest. But I don't feel that this is a milestone that is celebrated enough.
It really isn't, because I feel like again, like with social media, when I go on it, the people are talking when you're in your 20s, when you're in your 30s, da, da, da. And then it's like when people are looking back, it's like they're in their 50s or 60s, but the 40s
Yeah,
bit,
they missed it.
it's like
You're in a corridor.
no
You're waiting. You're
no one
waiting.
ever addresses it, or it's like it's insignificant. Well, they make it seem like it's insignificant. It's like, because yeah, you're not quite that 50, 60, but you're not 30, 20. It's like, so what are we? Are we dead?
Yeah,
Are
exactly.
we not living?
And that's the thing, and that's what I find really irritating,
Oh, very irritating.
externally, because there's nowhere. But I just think I've just got to keep doing what I'm doing, and I often have to throw in 40s if I'm doing something online to just the kind of bounce
Just a
them out.
reminder.
Yeah.
And I'm of the same. I feel like I'm consciously trying to now do more content and kind of really championing and kind of announcing that this is possible. This is 40. This is what you can do it. I've just started my business. I'm single. I've got my own home. Like, these things are possible in this age. You are still living. It is a good thing. It's not you're in the corridor waiting. It's not you're you're in between whatever. You actually have arrived. You know yourself better. Half my friends we're all heading to our 40s. Most are single. Most have got businesses. Most of that life, that society. You're meant to get married at 20, then what do you call it? Have a baby, buy a house, all that stuff. By 35, everything should have been.
Yeah, that timeline
That
doesn't
it
exist.
it's not. It hasn't worked for some of us. Don't get me wrong. A few people have, and they're on that trajectory. But for most, and for people I know in my circle, it's not.
It's somebody
it's
else's
not that.
ideology, though, isn't it? Somebody else's rhetoric that's gone out and said, "Hey, you need to be married by this is when you are able to have kids. This is when you should be married."
Yeah, these milestones that they put in place, and it's like, so if you're not in that, where are you? We do feel like we're in limbo. Like I said, we just got put in this corridor waiting, right? It's like, what? And I feel like people feel sorry for us.
Yeah, I just because the thing is about being here, and this can happen at any age, but generally, like medically, there's conversations at the moment, certainly for me, about being perimenopause, right? So that's now like this buzz thing word that exists above your head, and that it could be perimenopause, it could be this, it could be that, and the again data will suggest that from 45 you'll start bearing symptoms and etc. etc.
Wow.
And there's that comes at play, and a lot of people don't really take that into consideration. So when I mean that, like waiting in a corridor, it's such a, for me, I can't speak for everybody, it's such a pivotal moment of change. And that's why I'm almost like setting the reset now at 45, because I am clearly going to go until 90 and a bit older.
Amen.
And so I'm starting again, and this is where I'm redefining all the times and where I was told that I couldn't, shouldn't, and can't, is now making that space for myself. But it's a challenge, a beautiful challenge, but doing that whilst having very young children is the juggle.
Right. And for me, like when I think about it, and I'm like, the life I live now as a single woman, I'm like, if I bring kids and a partner into it, can I actually manage? Like, is like to be able to just fly off and just
but you will be. Like, the thing is, like, you strike me as an amazing, confident, can-do woman. It's just a juggle. So it's just a case of not whether you can, it's whether you want to, because you will always find a way to do the things you want to do, right? But it is definitely it's hard.
Right.
It's very hard. And again, because my body is now changing.
Yeah.
There's no denying that's happening, right? So things are slowing down, things are depleting.
And did you find? I'm sorry to interrupt, but in terms of like obviously having kids, that I guess your body changes a lot, right? So do you find that you're still feeling things from, what, five years ago, you know.
Oh yeah,
Or,
definitely. Because again, it was during a time where the whole world shut down, right?
yeah,
So there was no real advice, there's no real support, and because I had two cesareans,
yeah.
there was no real understanding about like reinstating your core. I can't
Mm,
remember the thing that happens. Mentally as well. You know, one minute you're able to like run upstairs, no problem at all,
mm,
and the next minute you're like, did I do my pelvic floor today? Like, am I actually going to wet myself? You know,
mm,
so there's all that at play. So
yeah,
there's been so much change, and you are being a being a parent. There's no denying, and I'm not like people say, but you can train, you can get fit and turn your body around. Having children is taxing.
mm,
Is taxing on the body, right? It's taxing on the mind. I'm not saying that that is a bad thing. They're brilliant.
yeah,
There's no caveat
yeah,
there. It goes without
yeah,
saying. That you know, I'm very blessed and I love them, but that is I'm now having to support myself physically and mentally in what is the start of a change for me physically as well. So body has definitely changed, like since having kids. Can't like feel bits of it. When I run, I've got to like hold everything in, and just being having the headspace.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
the head controls body,
yeah,
and knowing that you can do certain things. But I'm trying to treat this period as like reinvention and allowing myself the space. And I say that, but saying and doing are two different things
yeah, yeah,
because you're then unlearning what you should be doing, unlearning what you were told you should be doing at 40.
yeah.
Like I have no, um, like there's no real plan. I don't have any real strategy at the
Yeah.
moment.
There's no playbook, is there?
There's not, because what I was doing in work before is not going to work now that I've got
Right,
kids,
right.
because I don't want to be working 45,
Yeah.
46 hours. I don't want the phone call. I want to switch off. That's why I do a lot of work across social media and the modelling, because, you know, it comes in flurries. At the
Yeah.
moment, it's not consistent. But when you get it, then you will like save for
Yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah,
But it
yeah.
allows me to be there for my children and also try and give me a little bit of downtime, because
Yeah.
there's chaos at the moment.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
definitely chaos, because there's the children, there's the is it perimenopause, is the who am I? There's all this happening, but I'd rather be here than I
Yeah.
was in my
Yeah.
30s.
Yeah.
This is definitely the sweet spot for me.
But it is also so true in terms of wearing those multiple hats, right? For me, I can't speak to anything except for being a single woman. I'm very much like, obviously, my business, my home, me, my next holiday. But now you have to add a husband, the house, the kids, I just feel like women are such superheroes.
Yeah,
Seriously, it's like to encompass all of that, and then also to find time for self.
yeah.
That's also
That's the hardest part.
a thing.
That's the hardest part, because I think, you know, in an age now where people are like, oh, wellness, light a candle, say a prayer. No, it's no.
It's more than that.
It's definitely more than that. And I think that it's trying to extract what you really want, not what everybody else is telling you what you want. And it's almost like stepping away from that, because I think certainly when it comes to having a family, you know, I was often looked upon as being, like I'm talking about my immediate family, that it was never going to happen,
Yep.
right?
That pity party sometimes.
Everybody was like, no, you know, you go around there at Christmas and you've got the little seat with the
I
kids.
sometimes. Oh,
And
I
you're just like, well, there you go. You go sit over there with your little nephew. Dum, 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 dum.
literally.
And
Sometimes family holidays I have to share because I'm the single one, and I'm like,
do you know what I mean? Oh, she hasn't had kids yet. Don't worry. Like, oh, she's not going to happen. And it's that feeling where they've given up
yeah,
on you,
yeah,
but it's not the right time for you. And so that's why you have to be like, okay, so I remember a close relative was like, if you just like leaving it so late, why, wow, at that age.
oh yes, these conversations.
So were you going to come round at the age that I was to look after my kid? Because currently I'm on my, you know, I'm with me and my husband. So are you going to step in as like
Yeah,
nanny
yeah,
and support me? No, you're not.
Yeah.
So just mind your business, take a breath, leave me alone. And
Yeah,
that's really important. So it doesn't matter when you decide to have a child, right? And obviously there's a lot of like there's a lot of things you need in order to
Yeah.
have a child.
Yes.
But when you're ready and on your terms,
Yeah.
because once you introduce children into a mix, it's just you and you alone.
Yeah.
And not to say that my husband isn't hands-on, he isn't like a great father, but I think there is a certain level of that a mother carries.
Absolutely.
And I'm not diminishing the role of the father.
No, but there is
the emotional, like the way that I think is very different to how my husband thinks, and you carry it because these children are born of you.
Yeah.
So you carry that constantly. So you have to be ready for that.
And for the first at least 6 months, it's on you. If you choose to breastfeed, you're breastfeeding. It's like you said. It's the attachment is just there's not like they say. There's nothing like a mother's touch or a mother's love, right? There's an energy there when you give birth to your own child.
I was asleep with my kids today. Like they were like, "Mom," I was just like sleeping on the corner of the side of the bed. Like if they need, then they need you. It's mum.
Yeah.
Most of the times.
Yeah.
Again, dads, I'm not diminishing your roles and responsibilities and your compassion and love towards your children, but they're going to call for you.
Yeah.
And you were balancing on the side of the bed, and you got to be somewhere at 10:30. You're walking like, "Huh." So it's on you. So you have to be as ready as you possibly can be. But even when you get here, when they get here, you're still not ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to be comfortable in that. And I'm sick of people that are like, when are you going to have a kid? Why haven't you had kids? Because there could be a multitude of reasons why you can't, or you haven't had kids. But people don't see that. They just think, oh, you're getting on a bit. Yeah. It could be complications. It could be time. It could just be anything. And it's so wrong.
And also it could be choice. It's like, like you said, kids are, it's a whole dynamic. And some people are like, actually, I'm fine by myself. I actually want this life and I'm happy with this life by myself.
But some people can't accept it. Some people cannot accept when someone says, I don't want kids. And they're like, oh, who's going to look after you when you're older? Yeah. I'm like, have you not been seeing these things on Netflix where these kids are killing their parents? Right? There's no guarantee that they're going to like you. So, like, can we just step away from that? But it's, for me, I never thought I was going to have kids. I didn't want to have kids with my first husband. I know, it sounds weird.
No,
but the realization came later. So yeah, I just think do what you have to do and in your own time, and it's difficult, but being a parent at any age is stressful. Is it stressful now? Because like I said, now I'm getting a little bit of fog. I wake up and I'm on fire. Could this be perimenopause, which could last for 10 years and then you hit menopause? It could be, but I stand by the fact that this was the right time for me to have children.
Amen. Oh, wow. That's incredible. I want to ask, can you give our audience some tips and tricks of the structures you've put in place in order to redefine like how you are raising your kids, how you are being a good mother, how you are being a good wife, how you're being a good person to yourself? What things should people be looking out for? Or I know it's a loaded question. Or what things should people be looking out for? What maybe they don't have the support system, or they don't have a supportive partner, or whatever life is throwing at them. What can they do to ground themselves, to give themselves grace, to allow themselves to really enjoy the 40s?
So this is a really active time for me, because I don't have a lot of support. I don't have a lot of support, and I don't have as I mentioned earlier, I don't have my parents. Though I am essentially one of the elders of the family. We've lost a lot of people over the years. So there isn't really that support. My friends had kids earlier, and their lives are different from mine. So I feel that I don't necessarily have that around me. I have like I said, I have a very hands-on husband, but I think I'm in a lot of grief. I'm in a lot of grief from like not having my parents, and I'm still working through that. But the thing that you mentioned the word structure. And I don't have a lot of structure in my life. I try and have it, but then it all comes tumbling down. The one thing I always go back to, in order for me to be a good parent, and some people might come back at me in this, like the most important person in my life is me,
Amen.
right? And I need to be able to put myself in a position where I'm pouring into myself.
Yeah.
And I struggle to do this, but in order to do that, it will give me longevity for my children. It will make me emotionally available for my children and husband, and for myself, by doing things, by putting myself first. It's the whole, the whole analogy of, when you get onto a plane, when they're demonstrating, they're saying, before you help your kids and put them in a cot, you need to put your mask on. Because if I fanny around, I've got 2 kids, right? Fanning around trying to, and then the oxygen goes, whilst I'm trying to strap up my,
And then you go.
then I'm like gone, and then my kid that I was trying to strap in, she's out the window, and then my son, and then that's it. So I have to put that is something that I have to work on every day. Like I was saying to my daughter this morning, I was like, drink your water. And I was like, I haven't even had a sip of water yet. So I was like, I need to take some water. So I need to, it is a constant thing to try and put myself first, because I have to, also kids are like sponges, right? They see things and they repeat everything you don't want. You have to be really, really careful. And so your children are a reflection of you. Like I shout generally, like on a day-to-day basis, all the time. And my son was shouting. I was like, you mustn't shout. And then the next second I was like, Alfred! My husband was like, I'm not going to say anything. So you really need to like be available for yourself in order to be good to yourself. You can't love somebody without, like, you have to be able to love yourself before you love anybody else. It's so true. And it's something where I haven't loved myself and I haven't treated myself properly. But it's like I'm now a guardian, right? I'm a parent, but I'm guiding my children. I'm trying not to tell them. I'm trying to let them make the decisions, and support them so they become more independent, eventually. Like, I'm not trying to rush through childhood, but you have to put the groundwork in now in order to, what you're putting in now. And I spoke to an amazing friend, a real love of my life. We were talking about this a few weeks ago, and she has a teenage daughter, and she said she's now benefiting and seeing the work she put in as a toddler, right now, because these are the most receptible ages where the brain is forming in terms of identity and everything, and they're discovering themselves. My children are of mixed heritage, and the world they see. They've seen that we live in a very white country. So my children they've got white grandparents, right? But they don't have black grandparents. So I have to kind of keep activating my culture, have to keep activating, that they know about Jamaica, they know about foods, the smells, and how like the houses, because all of that is, we don't have photographs, we didn't have cameras back then. So it's really important for me to give that to my children. But whilst I'm doing all of these things, in turn, it's actually doing a lot of therapeutic work for me. It's doing a lot of healing. So it's a case of doing all these things, talking about identity, from hair, skin tones, colour, confidence, all the things that I needed to hear when I was there. And it is just the most beautiful thing to see in kids. And my daughter the other day said, we're talking about friends, and I was saying to you earlier that I'm having to divorce some friends at the moment because we've just changed and having the confidence to move away. And it happened on 2 occasions where my children, unprompted, said the same thing. So my son was having his haircut, and we were talking about his best friends from school and everything, and he was on his tablet, and the lady was cutting his hair. And I said, oh, Alfred and him and his best friends. And I said, oh, who's your best friend? He said, myself.
Oh,
right?
incredible.
I was like, ooh, ooh,
oh my gosh, how incredible.
And I said, who's your second best friend? I was like, any minute now he's going to say his mum. And he said, my sister.
Oh.
And then, and then I was in a park the other day, and this woman, like this, another thing about having kids is the whole parent thing, and like the clique. Sorry, the clique. And this woman was ushered her daughter away from my daughter. That's a whole new
what?
It's a whole other conversation. And
a grown woman.
A grown woman. And ordinarily, like, I'd have been like, what? You what?
Yeah.
But you're with
I'm
your
ready.
kids.
I'm always ready.
You're like,
I'm ready.
I'm
I'm
like,
always.
I'm like, you what? What'd you
I'm
say?
always ready.
But, you know, with my kids, like, ground yourself, like,
Yeah.
be the role model.
And breathe.
And my daughter was so unfazed by it, and she was just like, my own best friend. And even though I'm just like, I wish I'd heard that, by hearing them say that, and I'm not necessarily telling them that directly.
Yeah,
I may have said it occasionally, but they are taking that. So that is when I go back to when you were talking about structure. For me, it's like therapy.
Re-seeing, re-living, re-engaging.
Yeah, and I'm breaking, and it's not to say that the generations before me were doing it so badly. They didn't know any different. They didn't have the resources.
They did the best with what they got. I'm just learning that now. Before I was very much not there.
You
but
were like angry. Why do you do this? Why do you do this? Because the people before them and the people before them, like trauma
has been
descends, not just from but it's when I believe that when we are, we're growing, we absorb it from the parent and all this negativity and, being children, black children, and we're told, well, I was certainly told, keep your head down, do this, work harder. And somebody said, I was met with, I moved my daughter from a nursery, and a black teacher's aide, whatever, said, and there was a racist incident. And she's like, you know what, Sophia, we're of the same generation and our children need to be more resistant. I said, no, I'm sorry, I'm not having that. We are more or less of the same age group. But what you've got to understand is that I'm not growing my children up to have a hard life, right? Yeah. Why should my child have to be resistant to this? We have to break that cycle. It's 2024. Amen. I cannot push that onto my child. Like they need the soft life. Yes. Right? We deserve the soft life, right? But it's a generational thing, but it stops with us. Yes. It has to stop with us because we've got no excuse now. We've got tools, we've got the information. It's in our hands, and also we have to allow the inner self, right, to say enough's enough.
This is not.
Yeah, and we need to start healing. And as painful as it is, and like our parents, our aunties and uncles, they only had a certain amount of tools. I cannot have resentment against them. Yeah.
But some still do. And I think, like I said, only recently I'm of this nature, having to work on myself, having to go to therapy. I keep saying everyone needs therapy.
We do.
Everyone. But some haven't done the work. So therefore they kind of not want their kids to go through the same, but they want their kids to understand what they went through, right? So therefore, like, you have to be tougher, you have to, and they want them to go through that narrative. But like you said,
I battle that. I battle that every single day. And the thing about where we are in our age, right? 41 or whatever age we are, 41, 45, 46, whatever, in our 40s.
All the 40s.
All the 40s in that parameter is that we didn't grow up with the technology, right? So we've got one foot in one camp and one foot in the other. Yeah. Whereas
we're literally the unique generation.
We're the very unique generation, right? So whereas the generation after millennial, Gen Z,
I think so.
they only the technology in their hands, right? But we know what it's like
before and after.
And we are extremely unique in that. And I see this rhetoric that goes around like, hey, auntie, hey, mummy, hey, this. Like, I may not know a lot, right? Stick me in the boardroom now and I wouldn't know anything. But there is certainly a lot of wisdom that we carry because, there was this age and now this age. Yeah. And I think that we are the turning point because what our parents and aunties and uncles did before us, we know that to be true, right? And now we are in a place where we can either connect and start healing with ourselves and then project that back into the world. Like we are this sweet spot that is 40s, I think we need to be more visible, be having more conversations. And then there's a whole plethora of things, whether it's work, careers, relationships, that whole kind of tenacity in life.
Yeah.
It does genuinely start now because
Definitely. Speaking our truth.
yeah,
Speaking
because
our
it's
truth.
that, that like reset button.
Oh, Sophia, that's my one. If God granted me one wish, I would ask him to give me a reset button.
But it's now.
I
But
feel
it's
like
now.
for everybody though, because we're doing the work. Some people are doing the work, but not everybody is.
Yeah, but
Not
a
everybody
reset, but
is.
not a deletion.
No,
Definitely a reset. Because
a reset, definitely a reset. Because I feel like even like we're talking about dating or I feel like with when you meet someone, whatever stage of life you're at, right? Obviously, the things that happened before is going to inform your decisions that you're making now. And don't get me wrong, there is an element of experience informs things, but at the same time, I feel like I'm a different. If I met a partner now, the person I was before and some of the things I would have done previously, I won't do now. And sometimes I question, am I depriving them of my true self or am I being smart and not trying to make the same mistakes?
yeah, but the thing
It's
is,
quite hard because you want to learn from your mistakes or learn from experience, but at the same time, I know that I do hold back sometimes because obviously you don't want to get hurt or you don't want to. But if I could reset and just meet just fresh and not have all the rhetoric. If we met people without some of the baggage, without some, or when you've healed yourself or when you've done the work, I feel like we'll be different people. I feel like people go from relationship to relationship because they haven't healed or they haven't, or they're carrying so many things from the past. And I feel like if we could have maybe like you said, not a deletion, but a reset to really just be able to know that you're coming from a sense of self, like knowing yourself
yeah,
now
and I
would be
think
a different story.
I think as well,
A
like,
lot of people unhad pure relationships because of that.
yeah, I think it's definitely a journey. I don't think I've had therapy throughout my life. Certainly, I started just before before my mum passed away, and it's not something that it's be continuous. It would definitely be continuous. But I know that if I hadn't have experienced like some traumatic, some joyous, if I hadn't experienced that kind of fabric thread of life, I wouldn't be where I am today, and I wouldn't change that for the world. I carry, not even like baggage, I carry like trunks and stuff around with me. And sometimes I'm like, I can deal with that, I close it, sometimes I can open it. But it's knowing that I'm not avoiding it. I'm not stuck in the attic. I know that it's there. I'm conscious. I'm emotionally intelligent to know that the way I'm reacted
That's the
now,
difference though, yeah.
the way that I've reacted now is because little Soph that was not heard or was not seen, was not cared for, is like scrambling around with that information. There's a really good cartoon. It's like one of the best cartoons, Inside Out.
Oh, I don't know.
You get to watch so many cartoons with kids. It's just like, but it's like feelings, different feelings, and like they're walking like feelings of like a baby, and then she's going like through puberty, and like all these thoughts and feelings that are going around. It's to respect those feelings. Right? It's about learning to respect yourself
and acknowledging
them, and to know that everybody's got baggage, everybody's got something, and some people just continue to like paint over it. You know, when you go into a house and you do a renovation, you're stripping out papers. Some people like just another layer,
just put it on,
another layer,
just slap it on, slap it on.
But if you're doing the work, it's constant. And so when I say a reset, I mean like you can reinvent yourself at any time, but know that we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time.
Absolutely. You're going to have a good time on the way, on the journey called life. Oh my gosh, wow. This has been so, so beautiful. You've given me and hopefully the audience so much hope about the 40s and just redefining it for ourselves and what it really means to us and kind of owning that privilege. I would like to end by asking, what is an uncomfortable situation you've had about your 40s to yourself or with a family member or a friend? Are you able to share anything?
Wow. There's been so many.
Ooh.
I think one, which is a very current topic with me in my life at the moment, is I can't tell you the actual conversation, but I can tell you that it gravitates around friendship. It's quite painful when people think about relationships. Often it's of a romantic nature.
Yes.
But what we have to remind ourselves is that we spend a lot of time, if we're fortunate enough to have friendships,
Yeah.
and when you break up from a friendship, you are grieving.
Yeah.
It's everything else and more. It's intimate, and when people think, "Oh, intimacy," it's like having like sex. No, it's not.
No.
Like it's you trust this person. They are your like, and it's
Sometimes even more than your blood.
right, right,
Yeah.
right. We like family. We get, hey, it's your brother,
Yeah,
sister, but your
yeah.
friendship, you tell them everything.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the hardest things for me is actually waking up and realizing that our whole relationship
Yeah.
was one of, not all the time,
Yeah.
but was one of negativity.
Ew.
And it's heartbreaking.
Absolutely.
It's really, really heartbreaking to know that actually, maybe I was the butt of your jokes. You never considered me. You relive my stories, and it's from a place of,
Jealousy?
maybe malice. I don't know, and that's really hard because when you're having any difficulties in like family or anything, or when I speak very freely with my husband, but sometimes it's not that energy.
Yeah.
And sometimes the conversation's about him.
So
So,
you need somewhere to vent. That's what a friend is for.
exactly.
Your husband can't be everything to you. You need to have,
you need friends,
need
right?
friends.
So yeah, the difficult conversation is around friendships and the ending of friendships. It's tough, and unfortunately, I'm not going to end on a negative note, but when you get to this age, or get to like, because it's the realization that time
It's
is
moving quicker
is moving
than
quickly.
this.
So I want you to be with me, not against me, and I don't want to argue.
Yeah. We want peace.
I want peace. I genuinely want peace
I
in
want
life.
peace in life.
So yeah, that's one of the hardest things at the moment is around friendship.
I can definitely agree with that. And navigating, that's a whole another conversation. No, it's been a beautiful conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. And basically, I'm enjoying my 40s, to be honest. I know I'm at the beginning of it, but what the first year has shown me has been incredible, and I'm looking forward to what is to come, the hope of having a family, a partner, and I'm going to take your advice. I might put it out of classified, guys.
Oh, listen, it's coming back round.
You never know.
It is coming back round.
Watch this space. Single black female looking for a good time. No.
It was young, gifted, and black.
Ooh.
Single black female.
I was gonna actually, yeah. What was the thing?
It was so in the Metro, in the Evening Standard, which they don't do anymore. It used to come out on a Thursday, and it was a little column, and it said, "Young, gifted, and black.
Yeah.
Single black female seeks fun both in and out." And my friend was like,
Wow.
"You need to rewrite that." But listen, my inbox was full. I got to say.
Hey, sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. These apps ain't working. It's all about maybe putting out classified.
I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it.
Sophia, thank you so.
Thank you for having me. It's
so,
been lovely.
so much.
Really
It's been
amazing.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you guys for listening. If you enjoyed that episode, please subscribe for more. Thank you for joining me on this week's episode of Cocktails and Conversations. I hope you enjoyed the chat and found some inspiration to carry with you. If you like this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It really helps us reach more amazing listeners just like you. And let's keep the conversation going. Follow us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes moments, and a community that's all about personal growth and good vibes. Cheers!